So when I got cast these shots, I was definitely very intimidated, but I was really excited too. I fenced when I was a teenager, so the opportunity to do some sort of big sword fighting was really exciting. And also it was a fun little action beat, and it was kind of nice that the sequence of shots sort of had a start and an end. So I knew it was going to be something that potentially might wind up on my demo reel one day. But it was also going to be really difficult and, very physically demanding shots. And I'm still getting used to the software and the pipeline and everything, and really just sort of making the transition from visual effects to animated feature. So I knew that I could really get overwhelmed in a hurry, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't waste any time. So the first thing I did was I kind of went through the chunk of shots, looked at the storyboards, kind of thought about the beats involved, and really tried to shoot as much reference as I possibly could. Like even for the sword fighting shots where they're bouncing through the air, I shot some reference of myself just sort of on the ground, just sort of turning through the air, getting like a running jump, and just kind of starting to get like an anticipation and seeing how I could actually kind of create the torque and the lift that Puss would use in the very beginning of his jump that could potentially at least be a starting point, and then I could sort of exaggerate on top of that. For Kitty bouncing through the air, I looked at a lot of like trampoline reference and some high divers, and just really just anybody tumbling through the air that I could really think of. A lot of Olympians just trying to sort of see what was involved in the body to actually create that amount of torque. And I tried to use the body's natural sort of twisting to actually get it up in the air like that as a way to sort of create anticipations actually for the sword fighting. Like, when the body is actually kind of already twisting through the air, I then kind of used that as an anticipation and did a sword strike through that. For the disarming itself, that's kind of just straight out of like, a Broadway play or something. It's big, and it's not necessarily how you would actually do it if you wanted to disarm somebody, but it's a big sort of flourishy kind of thing. It motivates the camera move, and it's very, very clear for the audience, especially with the sound effect. Now, compared to these action shots, you'd think that these next two close-ups would be a breeze, but I actually had a really difficult time with these couple of shots. A lot of it was sort of the time involved, like getting the beats to read, and especially in the one where Puss sort of lunges at her with the guitar, getting the weight of that across and kind of making sure that that worked with the cut of the next shot were really difficult. But these two close-ups were really difficult too. This first one, when I shot video reference of myself, I was really busy and broad, and I was kind of like too nervous. And I kind of tried to find an animation, did a couple of different takes, and it just wasn't working. So I actually wound up getting another take from another animator, and her take was super clear. It's super simple. Seeing her first take was like this big light bulb moment, because immediately I saw that, just getting a nice, clear facial expression, getting the specific reaction that Puss would have for kind of losing his sword in this moment, because this was supposed to be the first time that I ever kind of was disarmed and beaten, because he's this great swordsman and everything. So yeah, it was just kind of seeing her take and just how clear it was and how simple it was. And immediately, like, the shot became 1,000 times easier to animate. So this next shot too should have been really simple, but again, I was kind of trying to maybe do too much with the shot. And I kind of tried to sort of get her to have this sort of condescending, sort of proud posture, really kind of having her look down her nose, like right as she puts the sword right underneath his chin. And, I still kind of like that idea, but the director thought it'd be a little bit more intimidating if it was like just sort of a look down, and again, a very simple expression, one clear idea, just sort of like the head bringing the head down, bringing the arm up, kind of bringing the attention all sort of central. And, I kind of liked my take at the time more, but when I saw the final film, it actually worked pretty well in context, and also there was a little bit of a laugh added. And that kind of was an important lesson too. It's not my movie, for one thing, so I always have to do what the director wants and what my supervisors want, and I kind of need to find the best way to sort of reconcile what I want with what the needs of the shot are and what the needs of the director and the supervisor are. But also it was an important lesson to sort of know that the director is thinking about more than just one shot at a time. He's thinking about the editorial choices he's going to make, the sound effects, everything. And I was just really only thinking about it just in terms of one shot, what I wanted my shot to be. So seeing kind of the final result was a nice little lesson to learn after the fact. And this next shot here, again, it should have been really simple. Getting kind of the quickness of the beats with the guitar and everything, that was okay. Like, I didn't really have a problem with that. And I actually really liked the fact that I was able to get a little bit of cat-like reflexes in Kitty there just by getting her ears involved. It's not a big thing, but anything that I can kind of add to sort of get a little bit of an animal behavior, I was always really eager to put in to these characters because they are cats. But Puss actually kind of getting that guitar to feel heavy and actually feel like it was a sort of a little bit of a struggle for him to get moving and also get it to work with the next shot across the cut. That was actually really hard, and that's something that I didn't really have that much experience with before I came to DreamWorks. In visual effects, a lot of times there's like live action shots in between various visual effects shots, and it's pretty rare that you would get like a series of shots like this. So having to kind of hook up with several different shots, like the one next and the one before, and then not only that, but also making sure that you're not kind of spoiling any moments that you're going to need in later shots or anything like that. Really making sure that each shot works on its own, but they work together as a cohesive whole. It was a nice, important lesson to learn. It was a little of a hard lesson to learn with this many shots to kind of stitch together like this, and especially with a lot of the different actions happening right across the cut. It was really difficult, and especially difficult when you're making blocking changes to one or multiple shots, and then you kind of need to carry them over. And this very last shot here, this one I was really able to get some good reference myself. I've been lucky enough to be knocked in the head a few times, so I was able to sort of get what I felt like was a pretty strong stumble. And, you know, it was nice just to sort of be able to get a reference take that I was really able to get the right attitude across, get the right mechanics across, and then just really be able to sort of translate to just the animated character's proportions and just kind of like really worry about kind of making any sort of weight and balance adjustments that the specific character would require, but really having a strong roadmap. And with this shot in particular, it was kind of really the first time that I very closely followed reference, and it was really, really helpful, and I learned a lot of really small details, just really analyzing it, and like especially little details in the foot that I wouldn't have thought of before. And it was just really nice just to sort of have such a strong jumping off point, especially because it was the last shot, and I was kind of running out of time, and I really didn't have any time to waste. So having this very clear jumping off point was super helpful.